So here's just some of the wood that was in my drying shed. It's been in there for at least a year. Some of it's been in there for 2 years. So it's definitely ready to plane down. Now normally you would run one of these boards through a jointer. Thing is, I don't have a jointer. I have a planer, but I can't just run this board through the planer. See, I didn't exactly dry these boards the best way. See, even if I flip it over, that's actually worse. So what'll happen is, if I send this through the planer, there's rollers in there that push it down, and then a head that will cut it. And if you watch, as you push down this section, that end pops up. As it comes through, the roller's gonna go like this. It's gonna push down the middle, then it's gonna push down the other end. And you see, it's not gonna get that twist out of the board. What we need to do, we need to keep this board straight, not twisting or moving as it goes through the planer. So one way to do this, of course, is really simple. Just use some shims. Just kind of support the board where it's higher. So the big high section here. And with enough shims, the board doesn't rock. Pretend this is the roller inside. There's actually 2 of them, so there's like 2 rollers like this that push the wood through, and then in the middle there's a cutter head that spins around with blades and it cuts the wood. So imagine this is the roller. It's pushing down on the wood. That's actually pretty good. So simple, right? The only problem is you need something to shim the board on. You need some kind of flat surface that's going to go through the planer with the board. So that could be as simple as just a flat board, a piece of MDF or something, because it doesn't need to be so structurally sound, because you can set up the shims on this flat surface, and then as it goes through the planer has a flat bed here that will support it. In practice though, I'm thinking it does have to be a little bit rigid, just because getting it through the planer, then taking it out the other side, if it does move too much, then the shims will come out of place. I also really don't like the idea of using these shims, because they stick out the ends here, and you could trim them off, but then you can't really reuse these as easily. I've seen designs that have kind of an adjustment mechanism, so there'll be like maybe flat boards across. And there'll be like several of them, and each one would be adjustable so that I could like raise or lower either side. That's kind of a cool idea, but it seems like it wouldn't work if there was a bow in part of the wood, because then it would be contacting just the middle and it would have a tendency to rock. Also, it seems kind of fiddly to me to have to adjust each side of all of these little things. We need something like that's quickly adjustable, that's easy to set a height adjustment really fast. Kind of like my camera tripod. In a previous video, I built a tripod. That's actually really a monopod, but who's counting? And you should check it out if you haven't seen it, because it's pretty cool. But it's a super simple design that lets you quickly adjust the height of something. So I've actually done some tinkering here, and I came up with a prototype that works surprisingly well. So imagine that this is the top of our planer sled, and there's a little rod right here, and I can adjust the height of this rod, and it stays up very well. It's really sturdy, and I can just kind of like easily adjust the height of it, and it stays. How'd I do it? On the back side, I mounted a hinge and drilled a hole for the rod to go through. Then I put a screw through the opposite hole, and behind it is a little spring. Because this hinge sits flush, the spring, even compressed, it would take up too much room, so it has to sit recessed in here when it's compressed, like that. And the way I did that was to just drill it out with a Forstner bit. The spring just serves to keep the hinge pushed down and gives pressure onto this rod. This is surprisingly rigid. Like, I can't push this at all. And just a little bit of a relief on that hinge part there, and it just slides up and down. It's actually pretty loose in there. It does slide up if you really pull it, but that's okay because the force is going to be on the way on down on this. So now the rest of the build is pretty simple. I just need to make a bunch of these and space them appropriately so that then I can pull up the pins to adjust the high spots of the board. So I've gone ahead and cut out 12 of these little blocks. I plan on spacing one on either side every foot, and most of the boards I have aren't over 7 feet, so that should be long enough so that it's not cumbersome and that it supports most of the boards I'm going to be planing down. Alright, so I've got these blocks, I've got a bunch of hinges, and I've got some 1/4-inch rod from the hardware store. Now the only other problem I can see with this is that if I put these at a fixed position, my boards vary in width. I could put them at the shortest width that I think would be necessary to support the narrow boards, but then the wide ones would overhang quite a bit, and I think that might cause a problem. So I think what I'm going to do is actually make these adjustable this way as well. I won't have an adjustment the lengthwise of the board, but I will be able to adjust the width. Just checking from and pushing on it, the board will still be sturdy. I think that 1 foot between sets of these with a piece of pipe. That's the only other thing I was worried about. Well, I think we just got to build it at this point and see if it works. I have a couple offcuts of 1/2-inch MDF that I'm going to use to kind of space these correctly, so I'm making sure that just by feel that I have a little bit of a lip on either side to give me some clearance for the hinge. So I'm going to mark this side to drill some pilot holes for 3/4-inch wood screws that are going to hold the hinges on. Alright, the other thing I've done is I've marked where the barrel of the hinge goes. Because when these are mounted flush, there's actually a slight bulge on the bottom here that's going to cause the hinge to bind. So what I need to do then is chisel out this area that's going to be underneath the hinge right here. You know what's really funny? If you watch my previous videos, I just took the depth stop adjustment off of this drill press because I said I never use it. I could totally use it right now. Well, we'll cheat. We'll just adjust the table height. Well, that was dumb. When I originally marked these holes, I only marked the mounting holes on this side for the hinge, but I can also drill out the hole for the spring because that doesn't need to be as precise. The only two holes that I want to drill with the hinge mounted are the ones that the pin's going to go through because those do have to be precise and line up really nicely. So I've gone back and marked this hole here, and I'm going to drill through it and then drill a recess with a Forstner bit. Needs to be a little bit deeper. So this fits nicely in here, but I did consider making this a 3/8 inch hole to give a little bit of clearance. I haven't actually ordered the rest of the springs that I need, so I'm hoping I can find this exact spring because I need 11 more of them. Yeah.
Dad, are these nuts?
Those are screws, buddy.
Oh.
I've got a helper now. Helper that went to the hardware store with me.
Oh.
And I found some springs, and they're the wrong size. Well, they're a different size anyway. These ones are thinner, but longer. I think if I trim them down just a little bit, they'll be about equivalent. So I'm going to try.
May do that?
Spring steel, but not too hard. Okay.
Oh.
Flat in there.
Hard, hard.
Yeah, just about.
May bar down, Dad.
Can you borrow them?
Yes.
You can borrow them, just a couple. Huh?
Can you do that?
You want a drill too?
What?
Not the same. Huh, interesting. Yeah, that's weird. These hinges are not symmetrical.
I do that?
Symmetric? Remember when I said I was thinking about making that recess 3/8 inch wide?
Oh.
I should have done that.
That's
It kind of
will do.
bends in there. In practice though, I don't think I'm going to have to make this hinge go completely flush to the surface. We'll see if it works. So I've already cut these pieces from a sheet of MDF, and I left them a little bit wider because I wasn't quite sure how much I need. So these were 14, and now I'm going to measure my planar. It's right about at 13 inches, but for a little bit of clearance, I'm going to cut them to 12 7/8 so that they fit through easily enough. My plan is to build the sled like this, with a piece of 1/2 inch MDF on the bottom, 2 layers of 3/4 inch to give it a box-like structure, and then the top's going to be 3/4 inch. I think I'm happy with this. I don't want to go any thicker. See, if I set the fence with a couple of these pieces of MDF, I should be pretty close. It's actually just a bit proud, but I think that'll be good because I can trim the adjusters down to their final size after I get the sled all built. Yeah, let's go with that. Well, if I haven't described it well enough yet, here's what I'm thinking. I hope this makes it more clear. The top will go on here. There'll be these 2 boards down the middle. So in the top, I'm going to cut out a slot for these to be able to slide back and forth. So they can go this way, or you could flip them around, go this way. In between these, I think I'll cut some more strips for more support here. This thing's getting really heavy. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if it works. This is this can be the prototype. This is going to be so good. So just to take a closer look, these can move in and out. The rods can move up. And I can even choose which hole to put the rod in. If this one works better, I can just put it down here. I could flip this whole thing around if I want. If I have a really narrow board, I flip these over like this. Okay. So this looks exactly like I expected it to look. I don't know if it's going to work exactly how I expect it to work, but... So I guess I got to really try and use it now and see how it works. So let's grab a board. All right. Got some give to it, so we need to support that. Okay, let's see. So this right here, go up. Okay, on the other side. Okay. These ones, I think, a little bit. It's pretty sturdy. Let's still take light passes and see what happens. All right, here goes. I'm not gonna lie, that was hard. All right, so this planed surface, if I put it on this bench, we know the bench is flat, it should sit nice and flat. And son of a... Couple things could have happened here. It could have had some internal stress. I could have just not set this up correctly. I was kind of in a hurry. Tempted to just plane down this side just to see what it looks like. Well, there's your problem. Obviously, I'm not used to having a planer in my shop. I gotta work on the dust collection. Okay, this may seem a little bit ridiculous, but I've run the hose into my table saw cabinet so I could pick up some of this stuff with the dust collector. What a mess! Let's see what this board looks like. Oh, that is sweet. I've got so much of this spalted maple to plane down too. So, all in all, pretty successful project. It's a prototype. I'll keep reminding myself that. I really like how the adjusters work. The only thing that's just, it's too heavy. I'm sweating, can you tell? This thing would also be good for a workout. You know, you get your boards planed and you get a workout in too. Beef up those arms. I think if we just do 3 layers of MDF, thin strips with a 1/4 inch top, 1/4 inch bottom, I think then it'll be a lot better. So version 2, I think I might even add more adjusters to get them spaced a little bit closer. And I don't think it'll add too much to the weight because with a 1/4 inch top and bottom, it shouldn't be as bad. So let me know, guys, how would you make this different? What improvements would you make? What did you see that I could have done a little bit better? I'd love to hear your comments. Things you liked about this, that was good about the design, things you didn't like about it. If you had any ideas watching this video, if you build one of these yourself, please let me know. So, awesome. Thanks for watching. This was a big project. It took me several weekends to finish. It's finally done. I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. Most importantly, the overall design, I'm really happy with how it worked, and it actually did work pretty well. So, awesome. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.